What's up, everybody? Welcome to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox, and man, do we have a good show for you today. We have a guest today by the name of Angela Mitchell. She is part of North Shore Paranormal. She actually gave me my start in the paranormal community itself, so I owe her a debt of gratitude for that. She got me introduced to a lot of good people, a lot of fun stuff, and that's it, man. Let's get to it.
This is Special Report.
Black holes are one of the strangest things in existence.
Neil Armstrong may have seen extraterrestrials on the moon.
When he spies a discernible shape.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there. And no one, no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
All right. What's going on, Angela? How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. That was actually the new intro. Thank
That
you
was pretty cool.
thank you to Shadow Media Canada for helping me with that. It was actually something that we worked on. It was a lot of fun, but took a couple of tries, but we got it right. It was really good.
I'm gonna have to step up my game now.
No. So introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey, everybody, I'm Angela. I am the founder of North Shore Paranormal Society. I'm also the host of Ghost Talk, so I know a lot of people. Okay, a few people watch my show, and other than that, I mean that's pretty much it. Let's see, I've been with I started North Shore Paranormal Society about 2.5 years ago. It was a mutual agreement with a coworker, Amy, and she was saying that, hey, I'm really interested in the paranormal, and I was like, oh my God, so am I, and so we just in the break room just put it together. And I'm the type of person that whenever I go do something, I'm like all the way in. She's like, wow, I didn't know you were going to do all
that. That's pretty cool. Is there any like special event or something that happened to you that actually got you into the paranormal like community, or something that made you want to look into it like a little bit further?
Me personally, no, but I was married and my husband's sensitive, or my soon-to-be ex-husband, so I'm in those divorce papers Saturday. But he's
congratulations,
sensitive.
I guess.
So he's sensitive, and he's a big guy. My ex works out all the time, and he's a pretty intimidating guy. So for him to wake up screaming, freaked out about something, like I had to dig in. I'm like, well, what is even going on? I don't see anything, but he kept having all these night terrors, seeing shadow people in our room, staring at him at the end of the bed. I mean, and it would freak him out. And for him not to be scared of anything, I've never known the man to be scared of anything ever. For him to be terrified of whatever was going on, it blew my mind. And so it made me say, okay, well, we're going to figure this out. We're going to work together, and we're going to really dig in deep and figure all this out. That way you're not scared. And,
right.
And that's why I got into it.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, personally, I've never had any encounters or anything like that. So it's all, I'm still fairly, like I said, fairly new to the community. So it's all still really new to me. But I mean, I've learned so much, especially from your group alone, which is another reason why I wanted to have you on, because I see you guys as like my epicenter of where I get a lot of my information from. So, for me to show people what I see, I thought it would be a really good thing, which is really cool, So obviously my next question was how paranormal activity has impacted your life. Obviously, as you just said, it impacted you quite a bit. I mean, even big men can get scared. It's just what it is, We all like to be alpha males, but if something's touching you in the middle of the night, you have no idea what it is. Of course, you're going to get freaked out a little bit. But did you always believe in the paranormal? Like growing up, did you believe in ghosts or anything extra, extra? in that
Yeah.
sense?
Whenever I was 9 years old, I actually had my deceased grandma come to me, and she walked me into my, because I grew up with my grandparents, she walked me into my grandmother's room, and she pointed at a picture on the wall, which was of her. And then she walked me back into my room, and she put me to bed. And of course, my natural response was, I had this dream. Well, my sister said, oh my God, I had the same exact dream. She did the exact same thing with me. And then, I mean, it was other little things throughout, um, like one time I went into a house that people were saying was haunted, looking for my foster brother. And when I tried to open the door, something was stopping me. Like it was just stopping, and I couldn't get in. I thought it was him. I was like, "You little shit, open the door!" Finally, it just won't open. And there was no possible way that could have happened. So I've always believed in the paranormal. Always. I've never had any doubt. But I mean, I believe in aliens, and I believe in God, and I believe in hell. Like I believe in a lot of stuff. So I feel like I don't need that confirmation just to believe what I believe.
Well, of course, no. I mean, there's a lot of people who believe a lot of different things, and I agree with that. There's no confirmation needed, no validity to anybody's case. It's just what we believe, And but that's pretty cool, I think it's a pretty crazy story, And like I said, I've learned a lot from you guys too, like with your investigations and what I've seen. I've also listened to your show a couple times too, so I get an understanding of what people actually go through when they go to these places. I mean, have you ever been like nervous when you're investigating a place? Has there ever been like an overwhelming emotion that hits you? Was it whether it's excitement or nerves or something like that?
Well, honestly, like I don't get very many experiences. I believe I'm a very closed off person, but there was one time when I went to the Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Tennessee, and there was where it's the holding cell, where they keep the prisoners and lock them in, and I was left in there by myself while my ex and a friend of or my brother went to go find a piece of equipment, and I was in there probably only 15 minutes, but I got this overwhelming sense that I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. And it just was so overwhelming that I actually just got up, grabbed my stuff, and walked right out the door. And I've never felt that. But I mean, if you think about it, that's probably exactly what the prisoner would have felt inside that holding cell. You're closed up in there, and but I mean, I don't scare easy at all. So
Well,
I definitely feel it was some other emotion at play.
you think that maybe something was nudging you towards a specific emotion, maybe convincing you to feel like maybe a little claustrophobic. The walls are coming in, you're feeling a little anxiety. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. That's something to explore too. Is how entities possibly instill something upon you. I know we all know that there's attachments and things like that, but just to instill specific emotions to make you feel specific ways, maybe that's if anything, that would be what they were trying to do, in that sense. So that's pretty incredible. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with investigations. Can you like break down what goes into an investigation? What's your process to get, let's say you find a place, okay, or what goes into your process of actually finding a place that you're like, all right, we're going to go there. That's what we're going to do.
Well, with me, I followed like how you said that I got you into the paranormal part of it by watching my group. I watched things, and it's a really great group. It's a big group, and I kind of followed what they did and everything that they were doing. They were going to these huge places, and it made me realize, hey, that's what I want to do. And the first big place I've ever gone was Waverly Hills, and so when I went there, I was blown away by the size of this place and just amazed by the history of it. It's so amazing. Now, going into it, I had a plan, but we really didn't stick with the plan because we were kind of all over the place. It had more people than I liked because we did a group tour or like a public tour instead of a private tour, and I learned from that part. But definitely have a plan going in. Like know what you're going to do, know what rooms you're going to investigate, know what techniques you're going to use, and make sure you're going with a smaller group because you go with too many people, you're going to get flooded out. Like with the public investigation, we had so many people there. Like at Brushy Mountain, and they double booked. We had so many people there that all the EVPs that I got, I had to just toss them out. There was no way I could say it was not a person because it was just too crowded.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, it would probably become a party at that point because, of course, you guys are going to be there hanging out, and there's a lot of talk. And I mean, of course, you want to concentrate and try and figure out what you're looking into. Now you talked about Waverly Hills. Where is Waverly Hills?
that's in that is in Kentucky. Where is it?
Was that your favorite? Was that
Louisville, Kentucky.
was that your favorite place? Is that the
No.
favorite place you've ever been to? No.
No.
What? Okay.
I would say that Duck Green Mansion in Vicksburg, Mississippi was my favorite place. I had the most activity there. The whole night, it was just such an active night. I had, like, the team we brought in was Great South Paranormal, so it was us and them. They had cameras set up everywhere. At one point, you saw a little person, it was somebody probably about yay high that was peeking in the door and it just left. I mean, it was just so much activity and shadow all over the place. I had a shadow in my room where I was trying to take pictures. I had a camera set up in my room and I just never got anything. It was just so frustrating. But personally seeing it, I saw a lot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I personally I've seen shadow people out of the corner of my eye. I've never actually encountered any kind of entity that's like that. So would you say that place in Mississippi, right? You said Mississippi, would be the investigation like that you're most proud of?
I would say not that I'm most proud of because, I mean, it would probably be a home investigation that I'm most proud of when you get that confirmation that somebody said, thank you so much for coming in. You made things better. And that's what I'd be most proud of. But it was definitely the most exciting investigation that I went on.
Right. So that leads me to my next question, which is you guys do residential and large places as well, like big facilities and things like that. How now, when it comes down to it, and you say you help people, for the audience, please explain what exactly goes into helping these people. What is I know that there's a desired outcome. What steps do you get to make that outcome a possibility or to make that happen? What do you do to rid these people of this, basically them being haunted in that sense?
Well, I'm a big believer in sage and breaking up all energies. And if you bring in the sage, then you're not only breaking up negative energy, you're breaking up all energies in the atmosphere. I don't believe you could ever really completely rid a house of a spirit. Because I believe the spirit realm and our realm are just so close together that it just intertwines. It just happens. But you can give somebody peace for a while until that spirit does come back. What I would do, we do a full investigation, sometimes a couple days. After we do the full investigation, then we look at evidence. We go and see where things are happening at, if we caught anything, EVPs, names, in the pictures. If we caught anything, we know the next time to go to that spot and focus more on that area. And then in the end, if we're just not getting anything, or if we did get something and we try to communicate. Like one house that we went to, they were sure it was something evil. They were so sure, but I really believe that it was the guy's father, and we had so much activity when communicating with the guy's father, and that gave him the sense like, oh well, I don't want this spirit to go. If Dad wants to stay, then yeah, let Dad stay, and that gave him peace like that.
That's incredible. That's incredible because you took a situation that was supposedly people would look at that and say, well, that's terrible that they're getting haunted, but you turned it into such a positive situation. And that's the other thing is that, a lot of people that are in these specific paranormal groups or paranormal things, they don't realize that we actually, maybe if you hear it on a show or you're out there investigating, so you're actually in the field, but, these are life-changing events for people. You took his negative and turned it into a positive, which means you're doing good work. You're helping people out there. And to me, that's super admirable. And it's a really big deal. there's a lot of different ways you can help people, whether it's giving them $1 on the street or changing their perception on something that they thought was bad now is good to them, and that's amazing. That's amazing. I commend you for that. Now, another question I have is, have you ever gone to a place, let's say, that people said was super haunted or not haunted at all, and you debunked it in a sense where if it was super haunted, you went there and you saw that there was nothing, or you went to a place that was not haunted at all and found a ton of stuff?
I believe, like, full-heartedly, that places have their times and days. So I can't say that I've done that, because when we went to Duff Green and it was really, really, really active, it's the same month that the Civil War happened, and it was a very active time. So it could very well be the date. The date might have been important, could have been the month. It could have been somebody in the house that they related to. There's a whole bunch added to that. And so another person coming in might not have got the same activity as we did just because of an element that's not there. So I can never debunk whether it has activity or not have activity, because you just don't know, because different days you have different stuff.
Gotcha. Now, if we want to get to like the let's say like the scientific side of this whole paranormal phenomenons and things like that, what do you feel happens that what's your take on what makes these entities able to pass through a veil or a portal, or how do they get to us?
I believe we're like a kind of a pyramid type thing going on, and then we're here and your spirits are here, and I think it's so close together that they're able to go up to heaven, or they're able to come down to see us. That's why our loved ones can come visit us, because it's such a thin veil. Now, if you want to astral plane, you can go up into that second level, and some people could even go up into that other level, but I don't have that ability yet. But I do definitely believe that is why we're getting it. So any building, you don't have to have somebody that died in a building. The house I'm in right now could have spirits if I wanted to contact them. If I wanted to talk to my grandma and say, hey, Grandma, come talk to me, then I could. If she wanted to come down, I believe she could.
That's interesting. I definitely think you're on the right track with that. From what I understand of it, I think that there is a veil, and there is a way to pierce that veil at certain points and spots, and that's how they're able to get through. That's why certain houses are haunted all the time, whether it be different entities like the Waverly Hills house or whatever it is, the jails and things like that. That's a place for them to come through, and they know that, so they get there and then they come through. That's pretty cool. Now, when you're preparing, I'm sure that there's an anxiety of what you're going to find when you get to these houses. How far have you traveled to actually, to like your furthest investigation from where you live? How far would you go to get to that house to help these people?
To somebody's house, probably locally. I prefer to go to huge buildings. Like now, my team members, like Howard, he would prefer to do a residential, and he'd probably go pretty far. But I wouldn't. I would find a team that's close by and have that team step in and help them out. But going to like a haunted building or a structure that I'm very interested in seeing, I'm traveling 12 hours next Wednesday just to go to Indiana.
Wow, that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
You get to see all these places. I mean, and you're also doing good work in the meantime, Now, when you're on an investigation, do you have like a favorite piece of equipment? Is there a specific job that you like to do most, or specific rooms you have to check out? That's like your process.
As far as rooms, like, of course you want to go to the room that had the most energy in. So like if there's an operation room, or if there is a drop chute, somewhere that's gonna really hold a lot of that energy in. I feel like maybe you can actually pull something out of that quicker than you can a room that just somebody slept in. As far as equipment, just a voice recorder and my camera, and I'm fine. I can go in with just that, because I do it for the experience. I don't really need to share the evidence. I do it because I want to just figure it out for myself. So if I just get that little bit, then I'm fine. I do like the escape method, which is where you go in blindfolded with your muffs on, listening to the spirit box, and then another person will ask the questions, and you'll be just saying what the spirit box says. And I really like that method, and I've gotten some really good stuff off of that.
Uh-huh. That's pretty cool. Now I know that there is in the paranormal community, there is like a line where some people, when you talk about like demon spirits or things like that, some people like to talk about it, some people don't. I was actually watching your show, the last one you did, and the gentleman that you had on did not like the D word, the demons.
Yeah. The reason behind that, and like I find it too, is because people are so quick to say my house has a demon, and it's not. No, probably not, because I would not, if I really thought somebody had a demon in their house, I wouldn't go in. I'm not messing with demons. I'm not qualified for that at all, and they're going to be a lot more powerful than me. I'm not going to be able to handle it. I would be in trouble if I tried to go tackle that.
Right.
But a negative energy or a negative entity, it's a different story. You can actually reach them. You can actually find out what's going on. You can communicate, because they were once a person. They weren't some demon that just wants to hurt you.
Right. Now, if you want to, and I'm going to ask you if you could get into like your worst experience while you were in a house. Worst as in, let's say, like the one where you felt like, I know you had that experience where you ran out, but you felt like there was nothing you could do at that moment, or like any kind of despair in a sense, like, you know what, this is just a lost cause, or
I've never felt that way. Like I said, I'm very closed off. I don't get a lot of activity happening to me. I have a couple of people that are sensitive in my group, and they get a lot more than me. And most of my evidence that I collect is aftermath on EVPs, off the camera, off the video camera, stuff like that. But with me, I've never had a moment where I felt like I needed to back off. It's never happened. Now, my ex, we did the first house we ever cleansed. We did bring home an attachment, and it also went home with another attachment. I guess went home with another one of my teammates, Gabe. But with my ex, he woke up and was actually being choked. I slept like a baby. I hit him. I'm like, stop. What are you doing?
Shut up, I'm sleeping.
He stopped gasping for air. So the next day, I text him. I'm like, man, you really need to get tested for sleep apnea, because you were like really gasping for air. And he was like, was that real? I thought I was sleeping, because a black shadow figure jumped on me and started choking me. So that was, okay, well, I'm gonna stage the house now.
Right. Well, that's scary. I mean, that might be one of the reasons why I don't think I've ever actually gone on an investigation, because I've heard stories like that, and that scares the hell out of me. The hell out of me. But
yeah, him too. That's why we're getting divorced.
I mean, it's crazy. That's crazy to me. Now, inside of the paranormal community, is there any grievances that you have that you want to express for us? I ask this of everybody inside of their community. Is there one thing that just pisses you off about the whole thing?
Yeah, I watch a lot of, I don't watch any of the shows, because the shows, they get on my nerves. They really do. It's so far-fetched. It's not what's really going on. You go into a house, you're sitting down quietly for most of the time. It's not all this action that everybody thinks it is when you watch those shows. The only show that I really respect would probably be the new Ghost Hunters. But, I mean, I don't watch a lot of them, so I can't really speak out for any other ones. But what really makes me mad is I watch all these YouTube videos. I watched a lot of YouTube videos before I actually went out there. And the ones that really provoke and act stupid, it pisses me off. Like, I watched one where they were outside of a graveyard and they're throwing rocks. It's like, it don't make no sense. It's just silly, and it's disrespectful. You're in a cemetery, their final resting place, and you're throwing rocks in there. That pissed me off.
That's crazy. That is really disrespectful. And you know what? even though there's supposedly nobody there, there is entities, and they're laid to rest. You know, that's a place of rest, and people shouldn't be like that. It's kind of an epitome for how the world is now and how hateful people are. But you know, we won't get into that. That's a whole different story.
And that,
For
that reminds me of something else. Like you were saying, did I ever have a feeling where I wasn't welcome? That's not true, because I did go into St. Louis #2 Cemetery in New Orleans, and I've been there before, and I've been there after. But one day I went in there, and I just had this very unwelcome feeling. It was so overwhelming. I felt like my skin was greasy. I felt like really dirty. I felt like a bad taste in my mouth. It was a really negative feeling. But like I said, I've been in there before, and I've been in there after, and I've never had it again. So it had to be something with the day. Maybe somebody's birthday or somebody's death day. They didn't want company. They were just making a point. They don't want me there. But I got in the car, and I was with a really good friend of mine, Jerry, who is also on my team. And he said he couldn't even drink his coffee. It tasted so grimy. I'm like, yeah, I feel really bad too. I'm nauseous. I feel really disgusted. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. So, just for us to kind of tell each other the same exact kind of symptoms that we're feeling, it kind of
something's going on. Something's going on. And that's crazy because, an influx of emotion, and a lot of things communicate through just emotion. Whether it's a UFO encounter, your emotions is what tips you off to something's really going on. When people get abducted or you have something haunting you, it's your emotions that kind of flip that switch and makes you realize something's not right. But that's intense. That's intense to feel not welcome, especially when there's nobody else around, and then it does all that stuff to you. I mean, that's an incredible story. Now, inside of the community, is there something that you're most grateful for, or that you really, really enjoy?
Paraunity. When I first started, I tried to get in touch with the team in New Orleans, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm just starting out. Can I tag along with you? And this guy shot me down really quick. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to do this on my own. And then, like, when I joined team things, and they were so overwhelmingly welcoming, and so many teams that are connected to them in their network were just like Brent and Emma, like it was just so overwhelming with how welcomed I felt. And then you got George Chaplin, who every day I'd watch his video, and he just brightened my day because he's such a positive person. I absolutely love him and his wife, and it's just, I definitely.
Well, I can concur on that. When you got me into some of these groups, these people were just. One thing I like to say to everybody is I can't wait to learn from each other, because in any experience you can learn from anybody, whether they're 5 years old or 70 years old. And these people they knew I had no experience, and they just let me in and let me do my thing and ask questions, and they were never annoyed. And it was a really great experience with those people. And I'm appreciative of you for introducing me to that, because a lot of groups aren't like that. If you go into ufology, I know I keep going back to ufology, but if you go into ufology, you don't know what you're talking about, somebody's going to be like, well, you're an ass. Get out of here. Next, So
it definitely wasn't like that. It was complete family. Like every single day I'd watch Chris Coomer's message on Facebook. I'd go watch George Chaplin's message on Facebook. Like, I loved it. It just gave me I felt so much goodness from both of them, and it was really good. Like, I made some friends for life, no doubt, in this field. I love it, and I'd like all respect for everybody involved.
Well, they also say that when you have experiences that kind of tether together, you're more likely to relate to each other too. So it's on a psychology basis, it's a good way to make really good friends, because you've probably been through some stuff together, especially exploring houses like you guys do. Can you another question I have is, can you explain your team to us? Like, who's a part of your team? What do they do? Give us a rundown of what your team looks like.
Nobody on my team has any real special abilities. We're all just normal people. I believe everybody has some kind of special ability, but we haven't tapped into any of ours yet. My teammate Bridget, she's probably the closest. She gets a lot of activity and kind of foresees things happening. So if somebody's going to die in the family, she kind of gets a lot of activity at her house, like a warning. So she always knows when something bad's going to happen. She can kind of guess what kind of sex the baby's going to be when somebody's pregnant. So I mean,
Wow.
it's pretty cool, but she hasn't learned how to really tap into that, and she really wants to. So I've met a lot of great people. I'm going to introduce her to. She's really paranoid about COVID, so she's not doing nothing right now. Amy is my co-founder. She's really sensitive. Bridget's her sister. Amy's not as sensitive as Bridget, but Amy's had a lot of paranormal history. Like she's seen some stuff herself, and she's always like anywhere we go, she gets something. And I wish I had that, but I don't. Jerry is very in depth and empathic. He can kind of sense things. So like he walked into one house and he was like, all right, I'm getting a guy that loves fishing. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, where do you even get that from? It's a woman's house. I don't even know of a guy that, but then the woman was like, oh, my dad is obsessed with fishing. He passed away in this, so he's really like, he's kind of hit and miss sometimes. Cause sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that's his Jerry liabilities or what's going on. but like sometimes it gets confirmed and it's like, wow. And then we have Bridget and Amy's husbands who are also very interested in the paranormal, and they don't really get to go with us much because one is a truck driver and one is a captain on a tugboat. Howard is another member. He lost his daughter and she was pregnant, and he really believes it was demonic. She committed suicide, which is a horrible story. But he's actually the house that we went to go investigate, and the attachment came home with us. But you should definitely listen to his story because he's like it's so heartbreaking. But what he's doing out of it, like creating this whole foundation in her name, it just blows my mind. He's such a great person, and I love him to death. And then his girlfriend Jackie is like really a quiet member that don't really say much, but she's part of the team. And then I have a friend Gabe who is from Nicaragua, and he had so many experiences growing up with the Ouija board, so many negative experiences. It just blows my mind. So he won't touch a Ouija board like at all. And anytime somebody says that, I think of him automatically, and like he just no.
Nope. Not touching it. Not touching it. I don't like the Ouija board either, to be quite honest. I can relate to that very much. We used to push it around on each other when we were kids and make up all types of stories while we were going. So it was fun, but I mean that's a pretty big team. Most teams usually that I see usually consist of like 4, maybe 5 people. You got a pretty big team, but it sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, you guys go to a house, and you guys, I'm sure, are all close. Mm-hmm. Now, talking about teams, I want to get into Ghost Talk. I know you're the host of Ghost Talk. I believe I saw you. Amy was on there. Was it Amy who does it with? Yep, she does it with you sometimes. I've seen her on there a couple of times. Tell us about your show. Tell us, what you're trying to accomplish with the show, what your goals are for the show, and what you're trying to bring to people. Your message. So what I'm like fascinated by is listening to people's stories, listening to their paranormal encounters. And I work at head of security at a major retail store. And so I have 550 associates under me. And I can't tell you how many times they've come up to me and they're like, oh, you're into the paranormal. Let me tell you my story. So just listening to everybody. I mean, you got 550 people. You're going to hear a lot of stories. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do a show and I'm going to let some of these people talk about their paranormal, their paranormal experiences because like they were at first it was people that just really didn't have a whole lot of experiences, but now it's turned into teams with all this experience. So wow. We started doing it just recording, and then I went to live because COVID, but it's working out a lot better live TV. So I think I'll stick with that even after COVID is finally done after this election, Well, absolutely. I mean, see, for me, I always do interviews live because I feel that this is a more candid approach to an interview. If we're doing a specific show, I might tape it, but you can still record and then produce it live too, which is something that I'm trying to look into now. But, I used to work at a warehouse overnights, and it was supposedly haunted from what they said. People would be upstairs, the lights would turn off. It was a big warehouse, and there used to be things that were like on the 4th or 5th shelf up, which is probably about 50 feet up, and would just fly off the shelf across the other side. And they actually had a team come in there and look at it, and they said it was haunted, but they couldn't get rid of it. They couldn't figure out exactly what the specifics were or why it was even there. So, it was a big thing, and I guess that's probably one of my first encounters with that kind of teamwork for putting a team together and things like that. So, everybody should go check out her show. It's amazing. It's called Ghost Talk. She does it inside of in her Facebook group, the North Shore Paranormal Society. I'm sure she also has it to her website, which you should go to her website. Check Angela out. It's a great show. It's very informative. So what's coming up for you, Angela? What's next on the agenda for you?
Well, like I said, next Wednesday I'm driving by myself 12 hours to go finally meet the members of Things. I'm going to meet Tim and Jeremy, Chris, his wife Amanda, Frank, and Ricky. I'm really excited, but we're going to first do the Monroe House. And I think it's going to be about 4 of us doing the Monroe House, and then after that we're going to go over to the Randolph Asylum. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Tim has
That's awesome.
He likes to test people and see if they can do this challenge where you're blindfold left in the most haunted part of the place, and I'm really looking forward to that.
You're going to be doing that? You're going to be there with the blindfold on? Oh, that's awesome.
Stand up, blindfold on, left all by myself. I'm down. I'm ready.
That's wild. That's wild. That you're wild. Now, what's the story behind the Monroe House? Do you know what the backstory is of it?
Do not. I never looked into either one of them yet. I've been so busy.
So you're literally going in blind both ways. Not only. So now we have a couple of questions too that I'm gonna go through here that the audience is actually asking. Now we have a gentleman by the name of Sonny out there, and he says your best recorded evidence of the paranormal, whether it be video, audio, etc. Do you have a piece of evidence that you feel is your best evidence?
I really think an EVP that I got in Waverly Hills was probably the most amazing evidence I got. We were in the operating room and we got very clearly, it's like a dream. And if you think about it, if you're going into surgery and you're going out, it's going to be like a dream. So it's very clear. You can hear it clear as day. And I'm pretty sure that's on the website, so you can look at it on the website. If not, it's on our YouTube channel. Also, North Shore Paranormal Society. You can type that in and find our YouTube channel. But it's clear as day. Another one is whenever we were doing Spirit Box or ITC session with Howard trying to communicate with his daughter, we had these huge orbs going over the table, like huge. Like it wasn't like little it wasn't. You couldn't explain it. It was these huge white and black orbs going over the table and coming. Like it was. It's also on our YouTube channel. You can look at that. But that too.
You got that on tape? That's like, oh my God, that's wild. That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah. We were getting so much activity, and then, like I said, my teammate Gabe, who's the one from Nicaragua, he was feeling all kinds of weird sensations. Howard was feeling all kinds of weird sensations. So just to see that with the words we were getting, the communication we were getting, it was pretty wild.
That's crazy. We have another question here from Watchers Talk Radio, which is my friend Omar. He asks, would you feel that shadow people would fall under paranormal or extraterrestrial?
I definitely think paranormal. It's just my belief. I know that there's a lot of different views on that, but I believe it's paranormal. I believe it's just people watching over you. I believe they can be bad, but I believe mostly they're just curious about you. Now, it could be aliens, but I think it's paranormal.
Gotcha. So what do you think that these shadow people actually are, if you had to say what they are?
Like watchers, like it could be just like different realms of spirits that come in to watch you, to kind of see what you're doing, and kind of just pay attention to you. And that's why I think they cling on to some people and not others. But like I said, my ex, he had shadow people. Like it would get like to once a week or once every couple of days where you would see him in our room. And I mean, they never hurt him until that one time he got choked, and that was probably because it was a different one that came home.
Right. So that was actually a shadow person that choked him in his sleep, he
He said
said?
it was a dark figure that jumped on him and started choking him.
Wow. Wow. All right. We have another question here by Sonny, and he asked, have you ever encountered a malevolent spirits or demons besides the one, of course, that was choking your ex-husband out? But while you're on an investigation, have you ever encountered something that was malevolent in that sense, or maybe evil?
No, I have never felt anything evil. I mean, other than like that's at the graveyard, I've never felt anything that was evil. I feel like I'm a very grounded person. I feel like that I'm too grounded. I don't know that, like I can't make it to where I reach that next level. I think if I can get to that next level through meditation or really finding myself, then I think that I would probably encounter that more, but I think I'm too grounded to ever really have that kind of experience.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I have another question here. It says Facebook user. I'm trying to figure out who it is. Oh, it's actually Barbie. And
Oh,
yeah, Barbie's here. She says, what's your favorite piece of equipment to use?
like I said, it's just the voice recorder. My favorite thing to use. I absolutely love using body cams. I, I would buy a bunch of them if I could, if I had the money. But I also, you just attach it to your shirt and you just go, and you don't have to worry about hitting the button off and on. It just records for 10 hours straight. After I get done with an investigation, I stick it on my shelf and let it watch me sleep. So I
That's it.
definitely like the body cam. The voice recorder is a must. You have to have a voice recorder because you're going to catch so much stuff on that.
Okay. Now, for people who are just starting out, what would you say that they would need in their tool belt to get started and to get out there immediately? What items would you say that they should procure before they go out into the field?
Honestly, if you bring your cell phone, a K2 meter, and a voice recorder, you're good. You got on your cell phone. You actually can use a voice recorder on your cell phone. So your cell phone would be a good, like if you don't have the money right now, you want to get out there, go to a cemetery, check it out, bring your cell phone, and you got a camera, you got a voice recorder, you got a compass, you've got a flashlight. I mean,
Wow.
you're good. Yes,
That's true.
I mean,
That's definitely true. It's a lot of wild stuff, and this topic to me is like I said before, it's not super familiar. So I'm also learning while we do this because I've before I got into these communities, I never really had any experience with it. A lot of my stuff was into conspiracy theories and ufology, but I feel like I learn a lot just talking to people and in conversations. If what would be one message that you want to tell people about maybe getting them into this, or what some advice that you would give somebody?
team up with somebody that knows what they're doing before you go in there blind. Definitely, even if you got shot down by somebody, somebody's going to be willing to take you under their wing because there is a lot of love in the paranormal world. Definitely don't go in there by yourself. I mean, I know there's a lot of solo investigators, but a lot can go wrong. Even not in the paranormal side, but you can get hurt. We're going into abandoned buildings in the dark, and you can fall down the stairs, break a leg, and then nobody knows you're even in there. So it could be really risky. So I would definitely say bring a friend. Always go in pairs, and then don't go in large crowds because if you go in large crowds, you're gonna defeat your purpose.
Not too big, but not too small. Have you ever investigated alone?
No, I wouldn't go alone.
Good. That's good. I mean, we've
I'll
covered.
be left alone, but I wouldn't be like I know somebody's checking on me, but I wouldn't.
Well, of course, you guys would have radios at that point, I would assume, right? What's the wildest thing you ever heard come out of a spirit box? The wildest thing.
The wildest thing I would think is whenever we're doing the stakes method, I had my best friend Teresa, who's also on my team. Her and Ray I didn't name earlier because Teresa's my best friend. She just comes with me. She's not interested in the paranormal at all, but she's my best friend, so she just tags along. She's usually in a corner drinking some whiskey or something. But and then Ray she's really good. But the best thing out of a spirit box would have been whenever I was like talking at an old bar in Bogalusa, Louisiana, and I'm like, come over by me. And Teresa, who's just repeating what she's hearing, she can't hear me at all, said, come over by me. Same exact thing I said. So it was like, oh, hello.
That's wild. So a lot of these things, they make my hair stand up when you say it sometimes, like, because I think of myself in these positions and I'm like, oh my God, I'd be bugging out. I'd be freaking out. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Like we were talking about the community before, and who are the people that you say taught you what you know right now about? So, give some names for people to look into so they can go and do some of their own research and follow these people as well. Who do you think taught you, or who do you feel is responsible for teaching you the ropes and getting you into this in a proper way?
I would say Team Things, definitely. Tim and Chris Coomer. Misty Pearl, she's not in it anymore for some reason, but she was a huge inspiration to me. And anytime like the Ghost Hunters would go on a live show on Things Paranormal or Things International, whatever, she would tag me and I would go watch it. And just watching them, and I actually watched their whole season, and then I watched their last season. And so definitely, like Brian Murray or Michelle, man, I have mad respect for them. And I really have never watched these shows because I've always thought they were fake. And, nothing against Zach Baggins. He's a really good looking guy. But, he just, everything's a demon and he's just goofy.
Right,
but,
right.
So I just never was interested. And then, go to Morgan City because that's so close to me. I watched that one, and I thought it was a really good show until the last episode. And then the last episode, I was like, you lost me, man. That's just not happening. You're fake. I mean, and I say that with the most love because I love them. They're really great people. But sometimes the network makes you do something you usually wouldn't do, and I believe that was what happened. They had to have a closing show.
Well, of course, that's part of being paid to do it, and freelancing and doing it yourself. There's always that you're toting that line of what's maybe assumption or what's actually happening. Now, I had a good question and I lost it, but I feel that we've gone over quite a bit today, and if let's say you're out there, right, and correct me if I'm wrong. Now, if you're hearing somebody say to you on the spirit box, get out, would you stay or would you actually get out?
I mean, that actually happened to me before. We were at a cemetery that in I think it was Bogalusa too, and I wanted to go into the woods, but it kept saying demon in woods. It kept saying that, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go in the woods anyway. I don't care what it says. I mean, I'm not scared. But then it said it again, don't go in woods or something like that. It said something like that to where I actually stopped and I said, okay, I'm going to listen because obviously it don't want me to go in there. So,
right.
So, I mean, I would listen. I would definitely, if they asked me to leave, I would leave. I'm not going to disrespect any spirits.
Now, knowing that you are, into this specific line of work, do you feel that you have a spirit guide or somebody who is, pushing you in the right direction to bring you to these places or kind of motivating you?
I believe that I have animal spirit guides full-heartedly. I've had animal vision, like animal totems that really led me in the direction. I read cards. I left my cards when I left my house, but I do read my cards. My cards told me that it was going to be a major end in something. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm getting divorced. And I did. Like, I mean, so like I really pay attention to all that. I really believe we're all in tune. It's a one big old bubble, and just different layers of it, but it's all together. But I definitely get visions of animals and what the meeting would be. I have to figure out, and I go in that direction.
That's pretty cool. Now, here's the question I like to ask people when we get closer to the end, so we can go over a little bit. For all those people out there who don't believe, what do you have to say to those people?
You can get all the evidence in the world and people would debunk it. They'll be like, well, no, it was this, and this. There's some great evidence out there, stuff that can't be explained. But if you don't believe in it, you're not going to believe in it until you get an experience. So it's not going to be the evidence that convinces somebody. It's going to be that day, and they will have it because everybody gets at least something where they're like, what the hell happened? And that experience is going to be what proves to them that it is real. I mean, even if it's after they die, they're going to be like, oh, okay.
Oh, well, I'm here now. I guess I got to say hi, right?
Yeah.
So we have another question from Sonny. He says, have you ever encountered anything strange like an unnatural animal or Bigfoot while investigating?
No, I haven't, and I've gone to look for the Rougarou. I'm actually trying to do a documentary on that. My son-in-law is a big time hunter, and he's going to help me. And we're thinking about like in October when hunting season starts up, because you just can't carry a gun anywhere. I'm not going in there without a gun, but
Yeah, right. I wouldn't either.
I do believe though, like 100%. Like my dad is like the show we're doing next week on Ghost Talk. It's going to be on Monday instead of on Wednesday because I am traveling on Wednesday. But the guy on it is he's for Bigfoot. He believes in Bigfoot. He hunts Bigfoot. He goes out on these little adventures, and so it's going to be a different kind of show for next week. And I'm going to have my dad as a guest, as a co-host, because my dad is so knowledgeable on Bigfoot.
Really? Well, that's right. I mean, if you get closer to like the center of the country, I feel like that they have more of a culture for Bigfoot. I'm in New York, so we don't really have a lot of Bigfoot stuff here. I know that there's something, in the mountains, in the Catskill Mountains, that they classify as a Bigfoot. But I mean, for me, anything that I can't explain, I feel like until it's proven that there isn't, it's a possibility. So Bigfoot for me is pretty cool. That's like Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch, I'm not sure. There's a lot of really strange stuff happening there. It's not just skinwalkers or whatever, Bigfoots or whatever. There's so many things happening with hauntings and UFOs. It's like a paranormal paradise. It's like they have everything that you could possibly think of that happens in a paranormal community at this ranch. How do you feel about that place? I mean, that place is it's wild to me. Like,
I've never even looked into it, to be honest with you. But with the Bigfoot, like my theory kind of is, like I said before, I believe that our world and like we have different dimensions close to us. I believe Bigfoot's of another world, and that's why you're not getting this evidence, this hardcore evidence that you should see, because I think it's just coming in and going right back out. And
kind of like it hops dimensions, like it comes into this dimension and then sneaks back out. That's why it's the ultimate hide and seek champion of the world.
That's why you're not getting, like so many people have seen it, but we can't get evidence of it. And why isn't it tearing us to pieces? I've had
That's
people
true.
that said, I saw Dogman and like it chased me. Well, he would have got you, so that's why I believe that it could be, and I could be wrong. I haven't looked into it enough, but that's my theory.
Well, not only that, they say that a place that has a lot of activity with Bigfoot also has a lot of UFO activity too, which means that it could be like a beam me up Scotty situation. You know what I mean? Like where it comes down, it goes up. It could be some kind of, some kind of alien entity itself.
But maybe aliens are traveling not through space like we just assume they are, but through these dimensions. Like they are superior beings. Like they don't need space. They could be traveling through these dimensions.
That's true. Pockets, there's all types of stuff. Teleportation. I mean, there's so many different theories we could go into with Bigfoot that it's almost never going to actually ever be solved because of that.
Yeah. We're not there.
Right. And this has been a really great episode. We're getting closer to the end now, and just to let everybody know that after we finish an episode on this channel, what we do is we have a subscription service on Subscribestar where you get an extra half hour to 45 minutes with the guest. We do a backstage pass. It's recorded. It's usually up the next day. So, just to give everybody a heads up, if you go to subscribestar.com/Full Spectrum Universe for only $2, you can go ahead and you can have all the extra content that we give available to people. Now, one more question I have for Angela before we go today. When you first meet somebody and you tell them about being a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator, what's the story that you tell them? When you first encounter them?
That I like a lot of times I'll tell them about my goals. My goal is to own a haunted bed and breakfast, and so like most of my conversations would go with, this isn't what I'm going to do forever. This is just what I'm doing right now. What my goal is a haunted bed and breakfast, and they're like, what? And that really is like, I make good money working what I do, but like I feel like a connection to the paranormal world now. Like I believe my husband or my soon-to-be ex-husband made an impact on me. He was brought into my life to get me interested in it. And like, I mean, I'm just obsessed now. Like I really, I want to go explore everything. I want to do everything. But yeah,
Well, that they say there's no such thing as coincidence, and you
that's,
know, people when they're set out, they're meant to do certain things, and there's always something that puts them into that direction. You know, one another question I'm thinking about right now is, are you training yourself in any way to maybe open? I know you said you're very closed off. Are you training yourself to try and maybe open up a little bit more and be maybe a little? To me, it sounds like you're empathic already. You feel things, but is there a way for you to open yourself up, or are you training yourself to make to make it easier for you to contact the other side like that?
I am working on it. I'm so busy. I work a lot of hours, and then like I rush to go do my show. Like any day off I have, I'm either doing my Bayou Beauty, doing something in the Bayou, or I am doing an investigation. Like every day off, or I go have family day. Like I try every Friday to have family day. So like my time is limited. But whenever I was living at my house, I meditated every single day. Like I really tried to connect. 2 shows ago, I talked to Miriam, and Miriam gave me some really great advice that I'm really going to try to implement in my meditation. And that was to, instead of block everything out, let it out. And that blew my mind because I've always been told, clear your mind when you meditate. And I think that might be what I'm doing wrong.
Gotcha. Meditation is a big thing. I meditate quite a bit. Um, for me, I try and reach my higher self and to the Akashic record for information and downloads that I wouldn't normally get. Give me ideas and stuff like that. Now, you said Bayou Beauty. What exactly is the Bayou Beauty? You want to tell us about that too?
That's just another little thing that I do. It has nothing to do with the paranormal. I live on a boat. I live on the bayou. And it's just me and my best friend Teresa. We go out. We have fun on the bayou. We show pictures. We do videos. It's more like a kind of girls gone wild kind of thing, to be honest. I don't know if you saw it, but it's it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of like my release to just go enjoy life.
I think the one I saw, you guys were, I think you were catching crab or eating crab or something like that. It was
Yeah.
pretty wild. It was pretty wild, you
And
know?
we got Barbara, who was Barbie, who asked the question. We got her to go with us, teach us her method of catching crabs, which is not a way I've ever done it before. I've always thrown the net in, catch a bunch, but she just pulls it in with a little chicken wing, and then we cooked the crabs. We made gumbo with the crabs, and it was just the whole 9 yards. And it just shows you a little bit of Louisiana living.
That's right. That's right. Have you lived there your whole life?
Whole life, born in New
Wow.
Orleans, just born and raised in Louisiana.
How many Mardi Gras you been to? Quite a bit.
Every year I go to at least a couple parades. Yeah,
That's
like
awesome. That's awesome.
40, 42.
That's awesome. That's a wild ride. Now let everybody know where they can find you again, Angela. We want to make sure that we get some traffic to go to your websites. I have them up here. So do yourselves a favor. Please go and visit her at her website at northshoreparanormal.com. She also has a group in Facebook. It is a great group. They give a ton of information. You can catch all of her shows. And just I love to hear some closing remarks from you, Angela, before we go to the other side and we tell Facebook and YouTube to piss off.
I'm closing. Let's see. Definitely, if you're into the paranormal, check out our group and check out Things Group. Because it is a lot of, yeah, and it's a lot of questions. Like, have you ever had an experience? Tell me about your experience. And it gets people to open up, and I absolutely love it. I love answering. I mean, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you see every single day I'm popping questions left and right, just trying to get to know people, trying to get into their heads, because that's the type of person I am. And it's some of them are really silly, but they also share videos. We have a lot of people share their lives from different houses, so you get an inside experience of what it is to really be on a paranormal investigation. Like we just had a person that's in the group, Jerry, that just went to an investigation at the Hill House in Texas, and she went live, and you could actually just watch her what she's doing inside the house, and you could see the inside of the house. and it's really great information. It could teach you how to do it if you ever want to get involved and do it. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I check my messages, even if we're not friends. I will definitely look at it. I will message you back. I'm very social. I'm very nice. If you ever just need somebody to talk to, I'm here.
That's true. You definitely are very social and nice. And we've had a couple conversations before we started doing the show and things like that. So, and it was about the paranormal and things like that. And I appreciate you coming onto the show. I think it was a really great show. I think we did really well explaining to people. And one thing I try and do is I try and take it as if I knew nothing. And we try and explain to the people what exactly is going on. So we're coming up on an hour now. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you. And thank you for everybody watching. Please, please, please follow her, find her stuff. We've given you all of her information. It is definitely worth your time. And I do love the fact that you guys actually do live streams of investigations so people can see what actually goes into it. It's not that easy. It's very difficult to get everything together and to put it all into one place. So, like I said, I just want to thank you. We're actually going to be going into the other side. So everybody on YouTube and Facebook, if you don't have a subscription, you should get one. All right, everybody, have a great night, and we'll come back to you soon.